I was just watching this amazing video from Yvette Brown on Instagram. Yvette Brown, wonderful comedian and civil rights activist. She is a wonderful person. She is a beloved character on Community, and she's a great human being. And just kind of just reiterating what you were saying here, um, of just being willing to have the conversation and be willing to be a part of it and listen. And that's really what people are looking, it's a start. It's a step in the right direction. You know, this situation is not going to be fixed overnight, and it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of, open conversations. This is actually the most I've talked about it on the show since everything that's been happening. But I think it's important. I think it's important that people get involved and they find the right information. It takes 2 seconds, as Yvette Brown was saying, to Google. You've got this Google machine right here. It takes 2 moments just to Google something and see if it's actually true before you even share it. Start off there, I mean, even still, there's a bunch of amazing organizations out there, but it takes 2 seconds to Google to be a part of. And I know that you guys were, you were doing some stuff with some merch towards some organizations, weren't you?
Yes. I'm still kind of allowing it to go. We really didn't sell too much, so I'm trying to let things kind of build up to where it can actually help out rather than, not really helping out as much as it can. I'd rather donate as much as I can. So right now, I'll let it go for another week or so, just so I'm not holding out on money too long for everybody. But anybody that wants to buy a Deciduous shirt or any Oahk shirts, as far as the handmade ones, I do all my screen printing in-house. You buy one, all the profit goes to help Black Lives Matter and also for like the bailout funds, and I'll match it. So whatever we come up with, I'll match it. We'll double it up.
Phenomenal. That's unbelievable. And it's great to see yourself and so many other artists take that stance, just to get involved in any way they can, and it is harder being in the Northeast, being in a more rural state. That's a whole other entire conversation, but there's amazing ways to help and to offer support, and it's good to see people doing that.
We have, and it's it could not be the most money in the world, it could be just a small little portion of money, but it helps out and it shows that you care. And right now, the biggest thing that matters the most is just our voices and the fact that we can at least help people be amplified.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest thing, is finding ways to amplify those voices that need to be heard. How can we help in any way to put you up on our shoulders right now and get your voice heard to who needs to hear it the most? And that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest way to see that you can help. And just helping, just keep it going. It's not just a week or two. It's going to have to keep going, and keep helping, spread the word of good information, not fake information. Do your research, check your links, make sure the links actually go where they're supposed to go. There's a whole horrible scam community out there, people trying to make a profit off from these organizations by changing their stuff. It's like super
easy to convince people elsewhere too, because you don't have to try hard to write a story that's believable nowadays.
Oh, absolutely. So do due diligence, take your time to do some research and make sure, what information you are sharing is correct, and make sure that the organizations that you are participating with truly are who they are. Bryan, this has been phenomenal. And I honestly, I could not expect less from you of bringing up an emotional, powerful conversation for me from a man who emotes so much in his life in so many ways and so many mediums. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit down with you tonight and to have this conversation with you. And I think this is a conversation that a lot of people need to have with themselves and each other out there.
I agree. And it's been nothing but an honor to sit here with you and talk. I know we don't really see each other too very much, with being, we're not really too crazy far apart, but, it's far enough with having the mountains in the way and everything like that. Yeah.
And it's definitely nice to catch up. It's been a little bit, and this has been a great way to catch up with old friends and also make new ones. And that's really what it's all about. It's just finding positive ways to stay connected to the world, find positivity, find a way to stay anchored. Don't let yourself float away out there. You know, there's a lot of great people, a lot of great resources. If you're feeling overwhelmed by everything that's happening in the world, you know, even most bands are incredibly approachable. Be like, look, I know this is going to sound right out, you know, left wall, but XYZ, your music makes me feel this way, and I'm going through X, Y, and Z. I just wanted to share that with you. And you know what? Someone's probably going to reach out because,
You know, I always put it this way: is when if I were to play a show and I played in front of one person, if that one person got something out of it and had an emotional connective, just anything, if they can pull anything from the set, then I play every single show for free, because to me, that's the biggest reward, is somebody that can get something from something. And, you know, people reaching out and saying like, hey, your music has helped me this way. Those are the things that I'm attracted to as far as with music goes. Like, these are the things, like when I'm listening to an artist, these are the things that I'm feeling. So if these are the things that I'm feeling, I want people to feel these things from what I'm doing, because my life has gotten so much easier as far as emotionally because of these bands and these artists. So whatever I can do as to pour my pain, my healing out there, if that helps someone out, then that's more payment than the world. You know, that's why I do this.
I mean, that's the human experience in itself right there. I mean, that's the true essence of living in a society, finding a vocation, and then putting it out into the world and hoping that somebody sees it truly for what it is, and it's true light.
Yep.
You know? And it's great. It's honestly, it's beautiful, and it's the purest pursuit in my eyes.
It is, and there's a lot of artists out there right now, you know, trying to do the ticket sale crap and all that. They're trying to do that. Like, no, just play. Like I said, play in front of one person that will truly get your music is worth more than any kind of money. And if you're doing it for more than that, for that one person, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
I see it with so much music out there right now, and it irritates me in the sense that all these bands really don't care about, you know, creating some kind of just connection with people. You know, they want to play the music as perfect as they possibly can.
And it's the numbers game.
I don't want to play perfect. I want you to see my flaws, because we're all human.
And that's, like I said, that's the human experience right there, is allowing and recognizing the fact that, you know, those faults, those scars, that's what gives you character. That's what gives you definition. By default, those are all just as much of a part of you, you know. Yep. You know, I'm just as much, you know, half my shattered face as, you know, as I am the rest of me, and I carry that with me everywhere. You know, I carry all of my scars with me, and they've defined my life. And self-recognition like that, it takes a long time. A lot of people can't look at the imperfections and enjoy it. There's the Japanese tradition, when vases break, they make sure that the cracks are visible, so that they can show that type of journey and not gloss over. It's rather poetic, the reason why, and they don't cover up and paint over the cracks. And I'm not doing.
We'll even accentuate them and border them with gold or, you know, bronze or copper, in the sense that the cracks themselves add to the beauty. There's also like I think it's a Japanese word. I can't remember. It's for beautifully damaged. I can't. But, you know, it's an oxymoron in a sense, to something so beautifully damaged that it's ugly but beautiful. And I think that's something that we need to kind of enjoy more. And a lot of people do kind of, they don't listen to a lot of more of the depressing music or things that are a little bit on the darker side, maybe for the fear of, possibility of depression. But, for me, I like to connect with that darker music. I like to connect with that because, yeah, it might sound more depressing, but really what it does is it kind of opens you up and says, it's okay. Like,
And and this is gonna sound so cheesy, but I don't think I've ever heard it but so well. In the great words of Butterscotch, sometimes, life has to make you feel really bad so you can recognize the stuff that makes you feel really good. And if everything was just all good, really good all the time, then it would just be basic. It wouldn't have the same impact. So we need the ebb and flow, and just as much as we need the darkness as we need the light, just as much as we need the moon as we need the sun, and the relationship between, and being able to recognize that and even embrace it, to embrace the imperfections and embrace those faults and those tragedies and own them. It's an amazingly cathartic process. I totally just on that word. It's
story of my life.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. I'm like, I'm gonna make a great point, but it can be incredibly catharsis to the healing process, which is huge. So to everybody out there, and I know we're all, as you said, we're all broken. We're all going through different things at different times. There's no reason to pretend that we don't have faults, that we don't have scars, and we don't have imperfections. Find a way to highlight those. Find a way to cast them in gold and make them your own, even if it's personally, even if the world doesn't see it. Find a way to embrace your imperfections. And I think tomorrow will be that much of a brighter day. And you're right. Like, not everyone wants to do that deep dive on what would be the gloom and depressive side. But to me, it's everyday life, and I need to take that journey. I need to go through that. I need to go through those emotions, because after I do, I honestly feel better.
Yeah, and then at that point, you can put some like Matchbox 20 on and really rock out to some good stuff. You got. I love Matchbox 20.
I was not expecting that.
You would be surprised at the things I listen to.
Before we even bounce, give me a couple guilty pleasures right off, and I'll throw you a couple right to you.
No, because there are no guilty pleasures. Music is music.
You're right. Okay. Bad parlance, but
what's that?
It's a bad term in parlance of the time to use guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
This whole show is my guilty pleasure. I'm showing every genre. I love nearly every single genre as long as it's good, honest music. That's my.
Yeah, I always used to say guilty pleasures as well, but it really kind of is it's not really a guilty pleasure. Like, I enjoy this, and this is something that I really love. As far as I guess you would say my guilty pleasures, I love really good pop music, whether it's like Mo or Lord, Purity Ring, just good kind of electronic pop music is if it's catchy and it's a little bit on the different side, I'm in. Counting Crows, always been a favorite. What's one of my absolute weird? I've got a sweet spot for Pearl Jam. I know Pearl Jam probably gets a lot of bad rap for Mush Mouth.
This is actually the second time today I'm talking about Pearl Jam. I talked about Pearl Jam in another interview, which will be in a different episode. And then someone will finally realize that I filmed both of these interviews in the same day, but in separate days.
They were all like, Corey, you need to stop talking about Pearl Jam.
No, actually, they were talking about how just different influences and stuff like that, and talking about how my dad is a massive Pearl Jam fan, has been since I was a kid, seen him so many times. He was my grunge influence growing up.
All right, so you're familiar with the whole discography of Pearl Jam, right?
Well, maybe not the entire 278 live albums they have, but
all right, what's your favorite Pearl Jam album?
I'm more old school. I mean, Ken is phenomenal from start to finish. Jeremy, and like you said, another great song that dives into darker subject matters, but was incredibly therapeutic and still poignant to today, if not even more so than when it was written. I think that song's got legs, and the lyrically it means more now than it did nearly 30 years ago.
Oh, dude, like I'd say 95% of that album is so dark, black, and even flow kind of is on a little bit of the darker side, as far as the actual verses. I don't know, man. Dark music is here to stay. I just think people need to kind of there's so many songs too you would never even realize are kind of depressing and dark. There's pop songs
even some of the most popular songs. I mean,
Nursery Rhyme.
Charmed Kind of Life is about a crystal meth addiction, and most people do not. That movie was in the fucking Beethoven soundtrack, and they're doing Crystal. I mean,
or like anybody listening to like Filter's "Hey Man, Nice Shot," and that song's about like the Bud Dwyer fucking suicide on national TV, and it's like. People are singing along to the song, and you're like, you didn't even know what this is about. Like, this is literally about a guy shooting his brains out on TV. Like,
the strangest place I've ever heard that song played was a strip club.
That makes sense. It's a good dance song. I mean,
like it's the tempo, but like for me, I'm sitting there and like the lyrics. I'm like, I'm gonna go outside and I gotta smoke a cigarette.
But that bass line, man, that bass line.
That does not. I mean, because I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the lyrics, and then I'm kind of a hopeless romantic, so I'm very lyrically driven. I cannot escape mentally just to get into a sexy bass line to Filter's "Hey Man, Nice Shot."
I can make the separation. More of the fact that I guess another guilty pleasure of mine is industrial rock music.
Oh, I love industrial. Like friggin' Ministry's "Filth Pig" was one of the first I ever had.
Ministry's kind of on that more like the heavier industrial side, and I love that side. Skinny Puppy and KMFDM. KMFDM I would still even put sort of in the more alternative side.
Yep.
I like a good alternative industrial band. Give me some Rob Zombie. Give me some Orgy. I'll listen to fucking Orgy all day.
They're still putting out stuff.
Yes. And like it's a little bit more on your lines with like more EDM-y, dancey. But it's really not that bad.
No, and it's not. I mean, they're taking risks. I mean, fuck, dude. Powerman 5000 is still a fucking band.
Yep. Like the new Cold album was actually pretty good. That was a little on the softer side.
Cold put out a new album?
Cold put out a new album.
That was high school for me. I got to check that out.
What, like 13 Ways to Bleed on Stage?
13 Ways to Bleed on Stage, like them and Nothing Face, like they were like my metal obsession.
Talking about hometown boys for me, some DC guys.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah. Oh my God, I'm surprised that I didn't even make that connection earlier. Dude, I remember hearing Blueskin the first time, and I was just like, "What is this?" And it was just like the times where everything was kind of like being overshadowed by like Mudvayne and Slipknot and stuff. And I was young and still learning about punk and metal and stuff, but like Nothing Face stood out, and man, they really stood out to me. And I go back and listen to them like what was their first album?
I can't remember the first album. I normally kind of just put Violence on or Skeletons.
And their last album, Skeletons was
really kind of a step in a different direction for them, and they were really kind of experimenting. It kind of sucked that he had such a drug problem that kind of restricted him to kind of do more with it.
Yeah.
But we all have our vices.
We all got our vices, You got to find a way to progress forward.